How do you find contractors that are able to take on your FHA 203K loan project? In today's video, I'm going to go over some common misconceptions about how contractors get involved on the 203K, and more importantly, a couple tips on exactly how you can find contractors that are going to be perfect for your 203K loan. My name's Matt Percaro from the 203K Way, and I specialize in helping people leverage renovation loans like the FHA 203K loan to build wealth and create equity in their home so that they can use that and go buy more deals and create a real estate portfolio. Now, having done the 203K myself multiple times and helping dozens and dozens of other people do it at the same rate, there's a lot of different tips and tricks that I've picked up on over the years, especially when it comes to contractors and making sure that you have the right contractor for the job. People are scared shitless of contractors. That's just the reality. There's a lot of horror stories out there, and I can totally understand why. Contractors get a bad rap. I grew up in the business and I understand and see all the bad, the good, and the ugly that comes out of working with contractors. The good thing is that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Not every single contractor is bad. There's a common reason why contractors get a bad rap. The reason contractors get a bad rap is because people tend to go towards the cheaper contractors. Now, I don't know what it is, but I think everybody on the planet just still thinks that they're gonna get a good deal from that guy that's not licensed, not insured, and he's working out of the back of his truck. Listen, 203K projects are one thing, but for all projects, you shouldn't be using contractors that are working out of the back of their truck. Listen, I don't want to offend any contractors that are watching this that are there. I understand that you have to get started somewhere, but that's where you start with the smaller projects and you build your way up and you build your accountability up and your experience up. But guys, if you're looking to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into a renovation, or you're looking to use a 203K loan to finance your renovation, you want to make sure this process goes as smoothly as possible. You do that by hiring contractors that are outfitted for this type of work. Now, I'm going to go into a couple examples of how you could find these people, but first off, I want to go into some common misconceptions about how 203K contractors or contractors that are involved in the 203K get involved on the project and what's required of them. First, any licensed and insured contractor with experience can qualify to do the 203K loan. A common misconception I hear all the time is that people think that contractors need to be 203K certified. Now, there's some instances online where contractors can take a course and they can understand the process and it gives them better insight into the process. Now, that's all well and good, but that's not a certification. That's just a certificate that they get that is going to enable them to understand the process better. The reality is that only a couple people out there have that certificate. So if that was the case, nobody would be able to get any of these 203K projects done. The fact is, of all the people that I've helped, the hundreds of people that I've helped do this process, maybe a small handful of the contractors actually had done a 203K before. Them having experience with the 203K loan is, in my opinion, not as important as them just being a great professional contracting outfit to begin with. You want to look for general contractors that have a support team in an office, they have multiple crews, and they have a lot of backup. You don't want the guy that's working out of his truck, flying by night, working without insurance, no back office, stuff like that. That's always going to be grounds for disaster. Again, whether you do a 203K or whether you're doing any project for that matter. So the second misconception I get a lot is that contractors don't want to do the 203K because it's too much paperwork. Again, that leads me to the first thing, which is that if they're not equipped to handle paperwork, if they don't have someone taking care of their paperwork for them, that's a big red flag. You need people that are outfitted to take this type of thing on. If they're not outfitted to take on that, they're not going to be outfitted to take on other things that come up throughout the process. It's going to delay your project and it's just going to be a bad time overall. A third misconception that I hear all the time is that contractors don't want to do 203K loans because they can't get started without a deposit. Now listen, as someone that grew up in the business, I totally understand that some guys need deposits to get started. There was times when my dad with his company needed these deposits to get started because he was going months and months and months without work. Now in those situations, my own dad wouldn't have been the right contractor to use on a 203K project. I love my dad and I understand that times are tough, but you do not want to hire a contractor that's having tough times. If they're having tough times, that means they're depending on every cent that you give them. In many cases, they're using that money not only for your project, but they're using it to pay off backed bills, taxes, their own rent or mortgage payments. As you can see, if you start getting further down the process, they're going to be struggling for money. That's when those horrible delays you hear about, when the contractor gets too far ahead of themselves or they're too behind and didn't estimate the project correctly. If they didn't estimate the project correctly, then you're going to have a really bad time because they're not going to be able to continue because they're cash poor. And you're not going to be able to continue because you're not going to have any other money to give them. So not having a deposit isn't necessarily a bad thing. I grew up in the construction business. I did a lot of large level construction in New York City. And I'm telling you right now, there are no contractors that got started with a deposit. It was always expected of these subcontractors and even general contractors that they need to be able to mobilize their crews, get on site, and facilitate all that cost in the beginning because they are not usually getting payment until a couple months down the line. Now, luckily in the 203K, it doesn't require you to wait that long. There are are also some banks out there that will give you some money up front to get some materials and really get off the ground. Now, again, that being said, if you find that your contractor absolutely needs a 25% deposit to start, chances are they're very cash poor, and if they hit any roadblocks in the project, it's going to fall back on you, and then you're going to have a crazy delay, and the only way to get out of it is for you to pull money out of your pocket. Now, if you're having trouble finding contractors, that's totally normal. It's part of the game. I've been in the business for many years, and I'm still always looking for other subcontractors, other general contractors, because at the end of the day, it's always going to be a cyclical business. There's going to be some contractors that get busy, other contractors that slow down, and you're always going to want to have a long list of contractors that you can go and call on when the time comes. So the first thing I want to preface this with, in terms of finding contractors that are perfect for the 203K loan, and any loan for that matter, you want to make sure that you are always looking for more contractors. Starting here on out, it should be your main goal to constantly network with people and let people know that you are looking for experienced general contractors to do your projects. That has to get started as soon as you identify that you're looking to buy a fixer-upper property for yourself or your family, because this is going to be the most important part of this process, and even being a real estate investor long-term. So that leads me to the first tip. The first tip is you need to be asking every single person in your network who their recommendations are for general contractors. That includes friends, family, coworkers, your librarian, your landscaper, your mailman. All these people are all part of your network. Go ahead, make a Facebook post stating, does anybody have any general contractors they can recommend? Facebook's also a great place for this. We can go even deeper into the networking aspect. There's a lot of different groups on Facebook for different communities. I know where I live, there's, the moms community and the moms and dads of Long Island community and all those different communities online. And you can join those Facebook groups usually pretty easily. Once you join those Facebook groups, go ahead and make a post in there. You're going to get hundreds of responses. Now it's your job to curve through those responses and go through all these different people and make sure that you qualify them to make sure that they're going to be the right people for the job. And that leads me to my second tip. My second tip is you should be calling all of these contractors and interviewing them. Now, I'm not expecting you to sit down and interview with them. Most of these contractors are busy. They're not going to have time to sit down and play 21 questions. But what you want to let them know is a couple different things. Number one, you want to ask them, are they outfitted to take on a larger scale renovation? What's the level of type of renovations that they do? Is there a range of dollar amounts that they typically work in? Do they have multiple crews, or is it just them doing the work? Do they have trade lines? Are they licensed? Are they insured? Have they ever done any insurance work or any work for banks? Are they used to doing works on a draw schedule? These are questions that'll really sniff out how experienced they are, specifically with doing any type of work that is public work or contract work or work for insurance companies. Insurance company work is very similar to the 203K loan. The 203K loan has a budget that you draw down with the 203K inspectors. This is a very common way of doing construction, and for anybody that's experienced, they've definitely done something like this before. The third tip I have is going through your professional network. What I mean by your professional network is, as you're building this process and you're realizing that the 203K loan is the direction you want to go in, start looking at the 203K professionals in your network and start leveraging them to see if they know of any contractors in the business. Now, here's a big red flag. If they ever steer you into using a certain contractor, whether that be from a lender or a 203K consultant, that's a complete no-no and is against the guidelines. Instead, the way the conversation should happen is you can go to a lender that's well established with 203K loans or a 203K consultant that has done many in your market. You can ask them for a list of, hey, I'm looking for some contractors to add to my list. Can you give me a list of all contractors that you've worked with in the past successfully? And I will pick from that list and go through my own contractors. You're asking for the list from them. They're not pushing it on you. Therefore, there's no conflict of interest. Also, I highly suggest that you add this in with other contractors that you find on your own through family or friends or your other network. Ultimately, you want to get multiple contractor bids to make sure that your numbers are in the right wheelhouse and you're not overpaying or underpaying on the project. And that leads me to my bonus tip. I really don't want you guys to miss this one. So if you've liked this video so far, hit like and get ready for this next tip that'll absolutely make sure that your project is going to go a lot smoother this way. So the most important key point to add here is that you want to get multiple bids from multiple contractors. Now, one of the most important parts of this process is you want to make sure that all of your bids are leveled. What is leveling the bid? Leveling the bid is a contractor term, but essentially what it means is that all of your contractors are bidding the exact same scope of work and are all bidding apples to apples or on a level playing field. So how do you level the bids? Now, it all starts with one very key point. The key point is when you're looking to do a renovation on a property, you're in contract and you know you're going to use a 203K or a home style renovation loan. You want to make sure that the 203K consultant is the first person in the property. That 203K consultant is going to help you bid an SOR, or schedule of repairs. This schedule of repairs is going to be your scope of work. Now, what you're able to do is once you have this scope of work from your 203K consultant, then what you're able to do is show that scope of work to all the contractors. contractor. Now what you have is you have an exact scope of work that all the contractors can look at, and now they can put their labor and material prices for each line item. That way, when you're comparing, you're able to look at everything on a spreadsheet and see what numbers are where, who's high, who's low, and it also gives you a lot of negotiation strategies. If this extra tip was helpful, let me know in the comments. I want to know if you have any questions about that last bonus tip, because it's a really important one that I want to make sure you take advantage of. If you're looking to do this and you're looking to do the 203K loan, this is one of the best ways to not only find the right contractors, but also make sure that you're getting the best contractor with the best price for your project. I really hope you got some benefit out of this video. If you have any additional questions about 203K loans and how to find the right contractors for the job, please comment below. I answer all my comments personally, and I want to make sure that you leverage this 203K just as well as I did. That created a lot of equity and a lot of wealth for my family. It's a great loan product to put very little down and have the bank finance all your renovation costs and get all of the benefits of owning real estate and building equity in real estate through doing a renovation. I hope you like this one, and I hope to see you on the next one.